welcome back. Today I am going to show you our second card for Halloween for the cards for hospitalized kids. And it is another card that is made with the Happy Howloween stamp set by Lawn Fawn, as well as some Lawn Fawn dies and backgrounds. So let's get started. Here is our second card. And this is a pull-tab card with little raccoon guy. He's out for a stroll in the pumpkin patch, and all of a sudden he comes along and runs into his little puppy friend who's hiding behind the pumpkin. How cute is that? So I will describe exactly what I did, what I used to make this card. I did the video, the card making took place over many days, and I did not video any of that. It just didn't work out to be doing the how-to videos. I figured that there are a lot of videos out there on the different steps involved in making cards, so I just wanted to walk you through all of the different components that came together to make this very cute pumpkin patch slider card where a little puppy pops out from behind the pumpkin. So let's get started. Now the second card also uses this same stamp set, and I was inspired by the pop-up die that Lawn Fawn came out with that I believe was a toaster pop-up die. And when you pulled the little pull tab, toast came out of the toaster and runs in a channel that cuts into the cardstock behind whatever it is that you're covering up. In this case, it's the hillside and the pumpkins. So for this card is so much fun. A little puppy pops up from behind the pumpkin. How adorable is that? And I used a little raccoon guy. He was from the Jump for Joy stamp set that came out a couple years back. I will put a link for that also on our website. And you can see here that this is using the horizontal tree for the foreground. On this one, the beautiful night sky, and it turned out really nice. Just took a lot of time, and I got lazy, and I used this awesome Altenew washi tape. And the washi tape is a nebula and stars in the night sky. And when this came out last year, I thought it was perfect for doing card backgrounds. And it could not be easier or faster to make a card background. It already has the stars on it, and you can see it actually looks fairly nice. However, I did not spring the money for the pop-up dies, so that meant that as I watched the video and saw how they folded up and put all the pieces together, I realized that this piece was just a giant T that folds a series of in and out and slides up through the little channel, and then you put your little guy on it. And I thought, you know what, I can use just my craft mat and knife and do that and cut the little channel in, and I don't need to spend $25 on a set of dies. That $25 would have been $25 very well spent. Let me tell you, it took a long time to get this perfected for how many cards that I made. So if you're thinking I could do that better and cheaper, I might have been able to do it on the Scan and Cut, but at that time I was already too far into it with the just using my craft mat and an X-Acto knife. It worked perfectly fine. It's perfectly serviceable. I was also concerned that the Lawn Fawn one, maybe the channel it cuts isn't very long, or if you were going to do a vertical card, I didn't know if it would have enough space. Some of the problem with the Lawn Fawn dies is that they are scaled much smaller than cards that I want to make, so it seemed simple enough. And so I created my own. I used a 1-inch punch and just cut off the top. Again, the Lawn Fawn die would have been much faster and easier because it cut the perfect U shape as opposed to a circle that I then had to trim and blah, blah, blah. So in hindsight, I would have better spent money on that. So this also uses the Happy Howloween stamp set for the pumpkin. I had pumpkins also from, I believe, one of the other fall Lawn Fawn stamp sets. I think it was the Happy Harvest stamp set. Had some pumpkins in it. And you'll see that in some upcoming fall cards that I'm making. And little raccoon guy, he came also either from that stamp set or he came from the Jump for Joy, which is the little hedgehog jumping into a pile of leaves stamp set. So that's where he came from. I did use the different stitched hillside dies, 2 different dies which go in 2 different directions for the background, black paper in the background, that same gray paper up front, and I think the slightly lighter shade of gray actually sets it off nicely to have that far away dimension and closer in dimension. So this card was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed figuring out how to make this one. It took far more time than it should have or could have. But again, here you can see the Brother Scan cut exactly to the edge of these pumpkins, and just a black Sharpie marker. You don't have any of the borders. The one thing that I did use for the foam is instead of using foam tape, I used some Stampin' Up! Shaker card foam strips that are about 1/8 of an inch thick, and they are wonderful. And I put them underneath the tree and around. I also put them all the way up and to the edge of where this little channel is that the puppy slides through. And then I used regular foam tape underneath to create an extra channel so that the mechanism has someplace to slide and doesn't get caught up against the card base. There are other card videos out there from Lawn Fawn that would show you exactly where to put the tape and everything on the inside. But I effectively just made a channel both on the layer between the background and the card, and then a channel between the hillside that the puppy slides through. And that way it slides in and out nice. I was kind of struggling for what to do. I don't have a stamp set that tells you what to do with an interactive card. So I just used a marker that I had from Office Depot that was a metallic marker. I had a whole bunch of them and found that the brass colored one actually wasn't too bright and blended well, but it was easy to see, and just wrote in the little instructions to pull that up. In hindsight, I also would have put some of the washi tape behind here so that you wouldn't see the white card base. By the time I had everything put down, it was a little too late to figure that out. So that is one thing I would change and do a little bit differently. But you do have the little channel that the slider mechanism rides up and down and is hidden by the hillside. It did take a little bit of fiddling to make sure I got the pumpkins in the right spot and the cutting in the right spot, and I did actually do a prototype on copy paper before I did it on an actual card and got all that figured out. And so then all I had to do was just with a ruler draw in exactly where everything was going from the prototype, and that made it very fast to cut everything out with my X-Acto knife after that. I did put in a little bit of washi tape on the inside. This was some Martha Stewart washi tape from a couple years ago. And I also used this Have a Spooktacular Halloween greeting, and that came from a recent Stampin' Up! Holiday Halloween greeting set, and I forget which one it was, but I will put that in the show notes as well on our website. So I thought that was kind of cute. I did want to try to use this little boo but there just wasn't enough room with the tree and everything else to get anything in there like that. So, so my little critters aren't saying anything. But this guy does kind of pop up, which is awfully cute. So those are the 2 cards that I have for you today. And I will be sharing more. Coming up, I have a video on one that I made from a digital paper pack that I also used the scan and cut, and that it was really easy because there was no cutting involved, just a little bit of work in the Silhouette software to get everything laid out how I wanted it, and then printed it out, and that one looks complicated, but actually wasn't that hard to do. So have a great afternoon and happy Halloween. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.